Where to Fish in Southern Ontario. Written by Anthony Yin. Read by Anthony Yin. Preamble. Whether you are a resident of Southern Ontario or just a visitor, this document is ideal for novice anglers who have just been introduced to fishing. The locations that I am listing are in alphabetical order. The information provided is based on my own experiences from 2013 to 2022. Number 1. Bronte Creek, Hamilton, and Burlington. Based on my own experience and knowledge, I have caught all of the species listed below using worms, spinners, mainly Mepps and panther martin, and smaller minnows. I mainly fished at this location in 2015 and 2016. Species: common carp, northern pike, brook trout, and brown trout. Number 2. Eugenia Lake, Peterborough. I myself have fished twice at this particular location. The first time was in the fall of 2016, and the second time was in early 2017. By using worms and smaller minnows as bait, I have caught a multitude of freshwater fish species that I have listed below. Species include black crappie, bluegill, brown bullhead, common carp, largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, pumpkinseed, rock bass, walleye, and yellow perch. Number 3. Credit River, Brampton and Mississauga. Throughout 2013 and 2016, I used to regularly fish at this river and would usually use worms and would catch an abundance of creek chubs or shiners. Around spring and fall, rainbow trout, brook trout, and brown trout were also more prevalent in this river. There might also be the odd salmon, depending on the section of the river that you are fishing at. Species: creek chub, shiners, brook trout, rainbow trout, brown trout, and salmon. Number 4. Eugenia Lake, Eugenia. Using a size 2 Mepps Black Fury, my friends and I managed to catch a lot of smallmouth bass and largemouth bass. During the springtime, bottom fishing with Berkley Powerbait or Powereggs works well for stocked rainbow trout. Species include largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, common carp, rainbow trout, pumpkinseed, rock bass, and yellow perch. Number 5. Fairy Lake, Acton. Using worms and smaller minnows, a multitude of species including pumpkinseed, rock bass, and largemouth bass can be caught in the summer months. Size 0 map spinners also work well at this lake for almost all species of fish. Species include black crappie, brown bullhead, largemouth bass, northern pike, pumpkinseed, bluegill, and rock bass. Number 6. Glen Haffy, Caledon East. This park is actually a part of a company called Toronto and Region Conservation Authority. The fee for the general admission per adult is $6.50. However, it is worth mentioning that if you are an angler who frequently visits TRCA and Credit Valley Conservation Parks, to enter the park for free for a full year, purchasing a yearly membership is highly recommended. The cost, including tax, would be around $150. There is also a separate fee that is exclusively for fishing. For an adult, the angling fee is $7.06, including tax. Species: rainbow trout. This park also has a trout hatchery at the park itself that raises the fish from the egg until they are around 2 years old to be stocked into the ponds at Glen Haffy and Heart Lake. The daily limit is 3 rainbow trout per angler. Number 7. Heart Lake, Brampton. I have had tremendous success at this lake using minnows, worms, and Berkley Powerbait. I have caught largemouth bass, rainbow trout, brook trout, pumpkinseed, black crappie, brown bullhead, rock bass, and shiners. In addition, this lake is also part of a company called Toronto and Region Conservation Authority. Species include black crappie, largemouth bass, pumpkinseed, rock bass, brown bullhead, shiners, brook trout, rainbow trout, and even walleye. Regarding fishing for rainbow and brook trout at this particular lake, the active window is not very long and is generally between late April and late May. The main reason why the trout are mostly pondered off by early June is because the temperature of the water gets warmer, as both brook trout and rainbow trout need cooler waters in order to survive, usually around 54 degrees Fahrenheit. This is the primary reason why the trout are no longer present by the month of June. My top fishing tips for trout fishing would be to bottom fish with powerbait at the southern part of the lake. Make sure that there is enough weight to cast anywhere between 25 and 30 meters. The reason why the southern part of the lake has the most trout is because it is the deepest area of the lake. At around 33 feet to 35 feet deep, this is where the rainbow trout and brook trout will mostly congregate. My personal color preferences for Berkley Powerbait would be chartreuse, orange, and pink. The daily limit for rainbow trout and brook trout here is also 3 per angler. Number 8. Island Lake, Orangeville. Fishing at this lake is excellent for black crappie, northern pike, largemouth bass, yellow perch, pumpkinseed, bluegill, rock bass, and occasionally brown bullhead. Similarly to Heart Lake, Island Lake is also under a conservation administration called Credit Valley Conservation. General admission is required for non-members. However, if you purchase the annual membership, upwards to 5 people and 1 vehicle are allowed to visit the park for the day. Species include largemouth bass, northern pike, pumpkinseed, bluegill, yellow perch, black crappie, brown bullhead, and rock bass. Island Lake opens in early April of each year. Every year in mid to late spring, shore fishing with small minnows works extremely well for black crappie. Depending on if you have a sport license or a conservation license, the daily limit for black crappie ranges from 10 to 30 per angler. An ice fishing program is also offered every year during the winter months. Another thing to remember when fishing at this particular lake is that you should never use spinners if you decide to fish from shore. As there are a lot of weeds, logs, and rocks that are close to the shoreline, I myself have even lost at least 4 spinners at this lake. Another tip that I would recommend is to fish on a boat in the middle of the lake. Reason being, the water is deeper, and as a result of that, it is where most of the bigger fish hang out.